On today's episode of Phinsde The NFL, we are going to preview the Miami Dolphins game with the Buffalo Bills. It's been a wild week, but there's still a football game to be played. We will discuss that, plus an NFL executive rips Tua, McDaniel, and the Miami Dolphins to shreds. Also, man, Jaelan Phillips, he's got Dolphin fans all worked up, all in a tizzy, and we are going to discuss that. Do me the favor more than ever right now. Smash the like button, subscribe if you are new, and as always, let's get into this.
Loses the football. Touchdown! Got it! You have got to be kidding me. Jalen Waddle has a Dolphin touchdown. And he will score! Field down the near side, man open. Touchdown! The run from Tua Tagovailoa. Touchdown! He's going deep. He's going to open a touchdown again.
Beautiful day to be a Dolphin fan. Let's go! What is good, Fin Nation? What's good? It's your boy Reason, and we are back here for another one. I appreciate each and every one of you for taking the time out to tune in. As you come through, please do me the favor, smash the like button. If you are new, go ahead and please subscribe. All right, we have quite a bit to discuss on today's episode. All right, man. Now, number one, let's talk about this. The word on the street is Lenore Sellers is going to be going to the Miami Hurricanes, that he is going to be entering the portal. So all of you Hurricane fans, you might be blessed with another dynamic quarterback through the portal. So, I mean, hey, good for you guys. I mean, I think it's clearly obvious he needs to go back for at least one more year. I mean, I've been saying that for quite some time. I think John Mateer, from what I understand, is going to be going back as well. So, you know, that's a pretty big benefit. Now, the other rumor coming out right now is that Dante Moore is going to return to school too, that Dante Moore is not going to be coming out. Now, here's the thing now, what we're getting into. I think Dante Moore and Ty Simpson are the best fits for this offense if you are moving off Tua and proceeding with Mike McDaniel and such. All right. Now you kind of narrow that down. Now I know everyone wants Mendoza. I know everyone grew up a Dolphin fan from Miami, and I get all that, the size, etc. I get all that. I will stand by this. I don't think we have the offensive line in place for a guy like Mendoza. He is a true pocket quarterback. Guys and gals, we just went through, we're in year 6 of a pocket quarterback, and this team doesn't know how to build in front of a pocket quarterback. Are we really going to go that route right now? And I've also said this. I'm down if they want to draft Spencer Fano or Francis Moigoa and continue to build out the trenches. You know? I'm down. Hey, man, I'll add this guy to the list. You want to take Arvell Reese? You want to take that stud defensive player and start building that defense out? Knock yourself out. I wouldn't be opposed to that. What do you do with Ewers? Nothing. He's a 7th round pick. See, the issue you're running into, and we've talked about it quite a bit here, the issue we're running into is if you have a top 5 pick, you do not know the next time you are going to have a top 5 pick. That is a problem. right? Like, you don't know. You don't have a crystal ball. You don't know when it's going to happen. And, you could catch magic in a bottle next year, make the playoffs, and all of a sudden now you don't have a top 5 pick. And the other thing too is, listen, even if Tua bounces back next year and starts to play well, let's not all forget what the deal is here. Tua is one concussion away from wrapping this thing up. The problem is you still have a quarterback that hasn't shown the ability to take hits in the pocket, and B, especially this year early on in the season, wasn't winning key games down the stretch when you needed him to in the games in fourth quarters. So all this stuff is kind of working against Tua Tagovailoa right now. I know the reports are out there, and Tua went up in front of the podium and denied it, said he didn't think he was playing for his job. Well, I'm here to tell you that you are playing for your job. Especially if a new GM's going to come in here. Because here's the thing. If they are going to bring in a new GM, how limited is that search going to be? Think about this for a second. How limited is that search going to be if you tell them two things? Number one, you got to keep McDaniel. Number two, you got to keep Tua as well. Now, it would be different if you say, hey, listen, could you make McDaniel work for 1 year? And also, we've got Tua under contract. Do whatever you want to do. Right? Draft a guy and groom him behind Tua. Cut Tua, whatever. Do what you got to do. But I'm going to tell you right now, we are entering week 10 this week. From week 10 to week 17 is going to be critical because not only is Tua Tagovailoa essentially playing for his job in Miami, he's auditioning for jobs on other teams potentially. That's the problem. So he got to take it seriously, man. He got to take it as serious as possible. Because if you don't, you could potentially, man, he just hasn't looked good this year. And I've given my answer. I have given my answer of why I think you've seen what people are calling a regression. I think moving on from Nick Hicks and Perform, as well as moving on from 3D QB, was the worst move possible. Now, you had people out here ripping Nick Hicks. Try to rip Nick Hicks now after the results. Try to rip Nick Hicks now after the results we've seen under him to the results we're seeing right now without him. That's what I got to say to you. Now, an interesting thing, per Chubb, Champ Kelly apparently spoke with Chubb and his agent before the trade deadline, and he was keeping him involved. So it was moving for Chubb. Minka said that he had no talk with Champ Kelly. So obviously things never got serious with Minka Fitzpatrick being traded out of Miami. How come you don't read tweets? I do read some. I don't check my notifications. I'll be honest with you. My problem is, I used to just spend so much time going back and forth with people, and so I just stopped checking my notifications so I wouldn't be, I would not be enticed to. Twitter's an absolute cesspool. I mean, that's just the way it is. Twitter's an absolute cesspool. It's all clickbait. It's all, hey, like, I'll be completely honest with you. Like, let's circle jerk our friends. Like, you see some of these lists coming out, of the best people on Dolphins Twitter, all this kind of crap. I've made a bunch of them. I've been left off some of them. I don't care. I don't take them to heart because I see these lists that people put top podcasts and they put podcasts that no one's ever heard of, or they put podcasts up there that I know for a fact are buying views on YouTube. I mean, it's just a circle jerk. So I don't really get down on that. You know what I mean? Twitter, I've really, like, from 2020, well, end of 2019 until about 2022, I was very active on Twitter. Very, very active. Now, sparingly. Twitter, it is what it is. Twitter and YouTube are two different platforms with two different audiences. I'd rather give my thoughts and my opinions to all of you, the people who take time out to tune into me, who take the time out to like my videos, who take the time out, to send donations. I'd rather give my thoughts, feelings, and everything like that to the YouTube audience, because without the YouTube audience, there is no Phinsde The NFL. There is no reason. Twitter is just something on the side, nothing more. That's all it is to me, and that's all it'll probably ever be to me. So, it is what it is. We got to trade number one in the offseason. By number one, I'm going to go ahead and guess you mean Tua Tagovailoa. I've said this, man. I've said this. I believe it. If the Rams move off of Matt Stafford, don't think they won't come knocking for Tua. Now, the thing that's going to be the issue is you're going to have to take on a lot of that money probably. Now, maybe they're down because that's better than outright getting rid of them and taking on that cap hit. But I do think you could probably work something out post June 1st with a team that's either looking for a bridge quarterback or lost their starting quarterback for whatever the reason may be, but they have a good enough roster to keep going. So that's what I think. A trade, though, I wouldn't hold my breath on that. So, and I know everyone's eager to get rid of him. I'm going to tell you this, I'm going to tell you this right now. If we draft a quarterback, keep Tua. Do we want to go we saw what happened in 2020. Do you want to rush the kid we draft right into the fire right away? Especially if McDaniel's still around, especially if the majority of this coaching staff is still around. You want to throw this kid to the flames under that coaching staff? I don't know about you, but I'd be drafting a new GM comes in here. I'd be drafting my quarterback. I'd be protecting him at all costs in 2026 to see if McDaniel's the real deal. And if McDaniel ain't the real deal, and Ross wanted me to keep him when I took the job, I'd be firing his ass, and the new coach would be taking over, and his staff would be taking over the development of my quarterback. I'm going to be real with you, man. I'm not about this. I've never been about quarterbacks need to start in year one. I think that's a fallacy. I don't believe in that at all. I just, that's where I've always been at with the situation, right? It just goes back to before we drafted Tua, right? Before that draft happened, I said, I don't care if you draft Burrow, Tua, Love, Herbert, whoever, build me what they have in Oakland, because they hadn't moved to Vegas at the time, or Indianapolis, which were two of the best offensive lines in the NFL. Right? Brother, the word on the street is Dante Moore's going back for another year. Todd McShay said Moore's going back and Sellers are going back. So, I wouldn't listen. I think Dante Moore's perfect for this offense, but I wouldn't hold my breath. I think the top two guys are going to be Ty Simpson and Fernando Mendoza. And then I think now, Mateer goes back, Sellers goes back, Moore goes back. Now I think you get into the discussion of Taylon Green as well as my boy Brandon Sorsby, who I think should definitely be on the board for round 2. But Brandon Sorsby even needs mechanical work, right? His footwork needs to be cleaned up and be more consistent, et cetera, et cetera. So, but yeah, I wouldn't hold my breath for Moore. I think he's going back. And it makes sense. It makes sense. Dante Moore and Lenore Sellers, with the proper development next year, could be vying for the number 1 pick. I think Julian Sane is ahead of them right now, but vying for that number 1 pick. So, I do want to take some time here, and I do want to go ahead and I want to shout out today's sponsor before we get into everything here. Sponsor of today's video, of course, is Sleeper. If you think you know football, then try to turn your football knowledge into real money with the Sleeper app, the ultimate fantasy sports app that can turn game day into payday. Just download the Sleeper app, pick more or less on your favorite players with more stats than any other daily fantasy app. Just choose 2 or more of your favorite players from pregame or live. Pick more or less from the predicted stats. You can win up to 1,000 times your money if your picks win. Use promo code PHINSIDE and you get up to $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions do apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. And if you use my code, if you use PHINSIDE right now and sign up, you will get a free $20 to play with. No deposit required. So go check out Sleeper today. All right, let's get into this. All right. So I want to start off with Jaelan Phillips. Jaelan Phillips has a lot of Dolphin fans all in a tizzy because of what he said. Shout out to D-Hug. He says, just got done watching Brandon Sorsby videos. I like his game a lot. Yeah, man, there's a lot to like. There's a lot to like with Brandon Sorsby. He needs a little bit of work, but a lot to like. Let Ewers play, see what we have, including 2026. I think Ewers will get some play time at the end of the year, but I don't think they're banking on a 7th round. I don't think they're banking on the 7th round pick. I just don't see that. But let's go ahead and let's get into what Jaelan Phillips had to say here. So Jaelan Phillips, I'm going to play this clip. This was in the Eagles locker room. Listen to what he had to say.
I know that you said you were so excited to be here, and it's only been a short amount of time, but how have you been getting acclimated in the very short time that you've been here so far?
Yeah, I thought I was excited day one. Talk to me now. This is literally the greatest thing that's happened to me in my whole life, probably. But it's just awesome. The guys are awesome. Everybody's been super welcoming. I love the environment here. I love the vibe here. The city of Philly's, giving me a very warm welcome. I got about 20 times the amount of Instagram likes that I ever got on the posting before from the Philly fans, so shout out to y'all. But yeah, it's been great so far, getting out there practicing. I love the weather here. I love the locker room. Everything's awesome.
What makes it the greatest moment, would you say?
So this guy's out here, just got traded to the Philadelphia Eagles. Didn't this guy just have a baby? This guy just had a baby and he's calling this the greatest moment of his life. Ouch. Ouch. All right? This man is calling this the greatest moment of his life, and he just had a baby. He's loving that the Philadelphia Eagles fans are all over his social media, just giving him a ton of love. Wait until you don't finish sacks that could win games for your team. Just wait. Watch those fans. You think Dolphin fans are bad. Watch those rabid Philly fans turn on you in an absolute split second. Now, I do want to know if he, the real question is, has he gone to Angelo's and had a cheesesteak yet? But my thing here is, the absolute glazing right now, I get it. It's new. It's exciting. All that jazz. That's fun. But at the same time, is he really that excited to be back with Vic Fangio? I guess so. I think now Dolphin fans are, getting their, feelings hurt by him saying it's the greatest thing that's ever happened to him. They're taking it personally from him, blah, 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 blah. Listen, this man's playing for an extension. He's got to say the right things. They just gave a 3rd round pickup for him. and Penn basically nailed it. She said, sorry, but he's on a team of winners now. I'd be excited too. I agree. Wait till he starts missing those sacks. Exactly. Yeah, they'll come from. Don't worry. But, hey, I wish him nothing but the best. I remember defending this man when people were saying they wouldn't even have taken him with the pick we took Holland with. So, and let's be honest, Jaelan Phillips is going to win a playoff game before the Miami Dolphins do. That probably alone has them all excited. So, I mean, here's the thing. Dolphin fans, you want to take this personally, knock yourself out. I don't take this personally. It is what it is. To me, it's more of an indictment of the situation. It's more of an he's talking about how much he likes the vibes over there, all this jazz over there. To me, this is just talking about, it's just an indictment of the Miami Dolphins and where we're at as a franchise. That's all. And I will say this. I think any hope of him maybe re-signing for a decent deal with the Miami Dolphins, because I had heard rumblings, people hoping, well, maybe he'll come back to the Dolphins in the offseason, especially if he doesn't pop off with the Eagles. I don't think that's happening. I wouldn't hold my breath for that one, because you'd be holding your breath for a really long time. All right, let's get into this. This is a very, very interesting piece here, okay? We're going to play this clip from Rich Eisen. Rich Eisen had Joe Banner on his show. Now, if you don't remember who Joe Banner is, Joe Banner, he was president of the Philadelphia Eagles for like 17 years, right? He was a executive with the Browns, and he was a front office consultant with the Atlanta Falcons. So, I mean, he's got a big time, background as an executive in the NFL. Now, he discussed Tua, McDaniel, and the Dolphins. And what's interesting is he openly admits, he's like a friend of McDaniel. Like, he knows McDaniel. He puts him on a genius level with certain names. But if you listen to his wording, he's talking about McDaniel, the coordinator, not McDaniel, the head coach. All right? Let me show you what I'm talking about. Let me show you exactly. So I'm going to play this clip. It's about 5 minutes long. All right? And he even mentions all of you. He mentions all of you Dolphin fans in this clip. Listen, is Joe Banner ripping the team? Sure. But are any lies told? You be the judge. Or is it just the harsh reality of where we're at?
All right, so there's three teams that I'm interested in hearing about your opinion about where they are and how they can move forward. And let's start with the Dolphins. You just referred to them, Joe, and I believe you are there in the Sunshine State. So what do you think their options are now? They bounced Chris Greer before the trade deadline. They trade Jaelan Phillips away. Jalen Waddle is still there. You mentioned to his contract. There's a coach who's still under contract. We don't know what the future. Walk me through, read me the tea leaves of what you think the Dolphins have done and what their options are moving forward here.
I'm concerned if somebody's rooting for them. Listen,
Ouch.
The owner really has one job. They can do more. They can be helpful in many areas, but they really have one job. They have to succeed from a fan perspective, because all the fan really cares about is how many games you're going to win. And that is, he has to get 2 to 3 hires right. Now, depending upon your structure, you have to have a general manager, head coach, and I think ideally a team president, all of whom are really good at their job, and then you will be able to compete with the best teams in the league. It's interesting to me because Steve Ross, I know reasonably well. He's a nice guy. He's a very smart guy. He's been very successful. But he has not mastered the ability to hire well at the top of his organization now, going back from the time that he became the owner of the team. And that's the reason they haven't done better. And, I know Greer, he's a good guy. He's a hard worker, but he got 9 years. We talk about some situations with people too impatient. I don't know how you justified all 9 years of that. There were a lot of mistakes made during that time, including hiring of coaches. I think I was with Mike briefly. We overlapped in Cleveland. The reputation he has as being an offensive mind is well deserved. I mean, I've been with Andy Reid, I've been with John Gruden, I've been with names that are probably less relevant today, Sean Payton, a lot of the coaches that are top offensive minds now. He's as good as any of them. So I put him as in the upper echelon of offensive minds. But the job description for a coordinator and a head coach is just totally different. And if you hire a coordinator that doesn't have the abilities that differentiate the good head coaches from the good coordinators, then you're going to be disappointed. So Mike has done I'd say a solid job, but not what you'd be hoping for the day you hired him. And I think it's because some of the qualities he has as head coach, or you need as head coach, aren't the same strengths as he demonstrates when he develops his offense. Part of that should have been working with Chris and having a team building philosophy. From our conversations, to me, you got to dominate the lines of scrimmage. You got to have a good quarterback. Some teams build their team. We got to have good corners and we got to have good wide receivers. That's what the Dolphins have been doing. To me, it's not like you can't succeed that way, but the odds of succeeding under that scenario are just not as high. I mean, we used to estimate that the teams were consistently making the top 8 in the NFL. 75% of them believed in this philosophy where you must dominate the line of scrimmage. And about a quarter of them were building their team around things like weapons and secondary play. So to me, there is no real legitimate argument about what the right team building philosophy for. The Dolphins have not had that ever, as far as I'm concerned. They dabbled in it a little bit here and there, but they never made it like, we're not going to win big until we fix this problem. So I'm worried. It sounds like there's a real chance they keep Mike. I don't really want to take a shot at him because there are elements, what he does. He's in the top group in the league. But as a head coach, he hasn't proven to me he can do all of that. And, they're going to have to find a general manager, in my opinion. If they keep the head coach, it's going to be much harder to find the people there. And, listen, it's not a good roster.
Well, I mean, so the Tua contract rests on top of all this. I mean, I understand about the command and control structure, and obviously that's crucial. I would never push back against you, but, you got to get the quarterback right. And what that contract is what, in your estimation? You want to finish that sentence?
I mean, it takes a massively bigger cap hit over 2 years than we've ever seen, even more than what Denver did a couple of years ago. And it leaves you with no quarterback. So where is that? You have no quarterback. You have a head coach I don't think is quite good enough to get you where you're trying to go, and you don't have a general manager. Ideally, you'd have somebody who felt like, I don't think Tua is hopeless. Let's give it a year. We're probably in the early phase of, doing what we did to the Eagles, what the Jets just did. We're probably going to move. By the way, the Jets would have been doing the right thing if they had moved older players that had some value, maybe not as high. So I think they're thinking, again, the right way. But young players that can be a big part of a team in 2 years, 3 years, I would not move. The Dolphins don't even have any of those people to talk about moving. They have some people that maybe get something in the middle. I mean, I saw people talking about people they could get third-round picks for that they'd be lucky if they got a fifth or sixth-round pick for. I mean, Waddle, in my mind, is the only person they could have traded. And even there, the numbers are grossly exaggerated. But he would have real value in the trade market. They decided not to do that. So I don't know what they're doing. They're not acknowledging we're in a really bad place. We got to kind of tear down the house and rebuild it. And they're not doing anything proactive that makes you think in any short period of time they can get to be really competitive, especially now that it looks like the Patriots are going to be good again for a long time. I think Buffalo's going to be good for a long time. Maybe the Jets can get there, and then you got Miami. They've got a long way to go to even have a chance to compete to win their division.
I mean, were there any lies told? I mean, he literally says they got a long way to go until they can even compete for their division. And I think he was spot on. And another assessment he made that just sends chills down your spines is he's like, we basically are fans of a team that they haven't decided whether they're all out or all in. We're right in the middle right now. And because we're right in the middle right now, look at what the results are. We didn't go all out like the Jets did. You're hearing reports saying, well, McDaniel and Kelly and such wanted to keep certain players because they wanted this team to still be competitive. And I keep saying, competitive for what? You're 2-7. What are you trying to turn this around? You really think you're about to win the next 8 games and go 10-7? Who are we lying to right now? Because I know you're not trying to sell that to me. And I mean, he was dead on about McDaniel. And that's coming from a place where first he admits how smart McDaniel is, right? Talks about that, no problem. But, and he talks about his relationship, that he knows McDaniel. He knows him firsthand. He knows McDaniel, right? But at the same time, he doesn't let his personal relationship skew what he sees with McDaniel. And what is that? Right now, that is a guy who looks like he's a better coordinator than he is head coach. Now, you could make the argument of, is he even going to be a good coordinator? Because his play calling, oof, you're probably not going to hear very much pushback from me on that. But, man, yeah, look what he said, man. Basically that, he's concerned for everyone who roots for the team. That's how bad the situation is. Like, absolute, you listen to him, a former NFL executive, zero hope. And what did he say in so many words? What did he say in so many words? What we've been talking about on this channel for so long. Stephen Ross doesn't know how to put good football minds around him. That's basically what he laid out. Stephen Ross does not know how to put the proper football minds around him and the proper football decision makers, and that has a trickle-down effect that has impacted this team and this franchise, and that's how we've ended up. I mean, Joe Banner basically, balked at the fact that we gave Greer as long as we gave him. So that's a guy who's locked in with other NFL executives, talks to other great minds around the league. You think he's the only one who thinks that? So, man, listen, Tua rip, McDaniel rip, the Dolphins rip, and it's all justified, man. I'm not going to sit here and say he's wrong about one single thing he said. I agree with everything he said. Now, the Dolphins, man, it's been a wild week and a half. Well, it's been a wild week. A week ago Friday, Greer was fired. Then we had the Jaelan Phillips trade deadline. So it's been a wild 7 days. But it feels like, what's crazy? It feels like we are actually getting into off-season mode. But the Dolphins, they still have a lot of football left. So let's get into this matchup on the weekend. You got the Bills, man. So if you are heading to the game, it's this weekend. It's what it looks like. It's going to be anywhere between 85 to 86. The cloud cover is going to be 13% to 16%. Low chance of precipitation, probability only like 11%. Wind gusts anywhere from 7 miles per hour all the way up to 9 miles per hour. But for the most part, it's going to be pretty good. The low is going to be around 72 in the day. Man, I say this all the time. Just have fun. Enjoy the tailgate. Get there early. Enjoy the tailgate, because there's going to be a lot more to enjoy with the tailgate probably than the game itself. So have fun at the tailgate. Have fun meeting up with the people you planned on meeting up with. And that's probably going to be the most fun you have. To hey, I'm hoping they win. But, I mean, crap in one hand, wish in the other. See which one fills up first. So, the injury report, the final injury report is out right now. Okay? So, let's get into that injury report, because there are some interesting things to take away from the injury report. All right. So, D. Eskridge, Rasul Douglas, and Chop Robinson. D. Eskridge, you can see, is labeled as out. Mike McDaniel said today he's moving forward with Rasul Douglas and Chop Robinson, he doesn't think they're going to play. So I think a guy like Quentin Bell is probably going to get activated this week with Chop Robinson out. Ashton Davis, Ollie Gordon, Julian Hill, Ifeatu Melifonwu, they're all questionable. Now, Melifonwu and Ashton Davis seem like they might be game time decisions the way McDaniel was talking about them today. But expect no Eskridge, no Rasul, and no Chop. So expect Quentin Bell to get activated, all right? For the Bills, they have no AJ Espinosa. They have no Shaq Thompson. But, I mean, do they really? Unless Josh Allen is out or James Cook, does any of this really move the needle? You know, let's be real here. And what's funny is Cam's actually, you know what, Cam? I actually thought about this earlier today. I'm like, now they're going to beat the Bills when it don't matter. When they got nothing to lose, they'll go out there and they'll beat the Bills. Now they'll go out, but I don't know. I mean, where's the pass rush coming from? All you got is Bradley Chubb. You know, you got no Chop. Jalen's been traded. Steelers spent more time on his butt than he has in the backfield of opposing teams. Kenneth Grant's a rookie. He's starting to get those pressures and those sacks to come through, but are we going to expect a 3 or 4 sack game? I think this game could be over by the end of the second quarter. I really do. Life of a Dolphins fan. Now, when you stack these two teams up, this is what you get. All right, the Dolphins right now, 27th in total offense. The Bills are number 1. The Dolphins are 23rd passing offense. The Bills are 14th. The Dolphins have the number 30th rushing defense, and guess what? The Bills have the number 1 rushing offense. Oh, that's good. Scoring offense, Dolphins averaging 20 points per game. Bills averaging almost 30. 26-3 in terms of rankings. Sacks allowed, the Bills have allowed 17. Dolphins have allowed 20. Third down offense, my, how the Dolphins have fallen. The Bills are the 5th best third down offense. The Dolphins have fallen to 17th. Remember, 4 weeks ago, they were a top 3 third down offense. They've fallen 14 spots over the last 4 weeks. Awful. Total defense, Dolphins ranked 24th. The Bills are ranked 12th. Passing defense, the Bills have the 2nd best passing defense. Dolphins somehow have the 10th best. In terms of rushing, like I said, the Dolphins have the 30th rushing defense. The Bills have the 28th. They're allowing 141.4 yards per game. There's a weakness, if there ever was one, on this chart. Scoring defense, the Bills are only allowing 20.9 points per game, which lines up with the 20 points the Dolphins score. Dolphins scoring defense allowing 27 points per game, only 2 points less than what the Bills are scoring right now. Third down defense, Dolphins 25th, going against the 5th ranked third down offense. Good luck to us. And then they have the 14th. The Bills have the 14th ranked third down defense. Now, takeaways. The Dolphins have 7. The Bills have 9 in terms of giveaways. The Dolphins have 15. They're the worst in the NFL in offensive turnovers. The Bills, they've only given the ball away 6 times. That's 5th best. I mean, look at it right in front of your eyes. Look at the recipe. Just go look at the giveaways, the offense. Bottom of the league in rushing offense. Bottom of the league in scoring offense. Very bottom of the league in giveaways. I mean, for the offensive guru everyone tries to sell us McDaniel being, that sure doesn't look offensive guru-ish, no? Not good. Not good at all. So, let's get into my keys to victory. All right. Let's start off with my offensive keys to victory. Tua needs to rise to the occasion. I don't know how. I mean, Tua, you're playing for your job. I mean, you need to not turn the ball over. You need to get the ball in the end zone multiple times. And you need to show your franchise quarterback this weekend for this team, this offense to have a chance to win. Period. Tua needs to rise to the occasion. Number 2, Jonas Savaiinaea needs to make up for his brutal Week 3 performance against Buffalo. Jonas Savaiinaea gave up the most pressures in Week 3 against Buffalo. It was not pretty. Now, Jonah's been coming on the last couple of games, and he's been decent. He's getting better, let's put it that way. But Jonas Savaiinaea, the team allowed 13 pressures. Savaiinaea gave up 5. We can't have that. We can't have 5 hurries and 5 pressures coming from the interior with this quarterback. It just can't happen. So Jonas Savaiinaea, he needs to continue to build off of his last couple weeks. And number 3, and I've said this so many times this year, the offense needs to run through your most dynamic players, and that's Waddle and Achane. If Waddle and Achane do not have good games, what are we expecting? I mean, we just went over it. We just showed you guys in straight black and white. The Bills have the 28th rushing defense. You have a dynamic weapon in Achane. Go back to Savaiinaea. This is what Savaiinaea needs to do. Got to get pushing that run game. Jalen Waddle. Guys, it's okay to target him more than 6 times a game. I don't know who needs to tell these guys, but it's okay to target Jalen Waddle. It's not going to hurt anyone. Feed the guy 10, 12 targets. What do you got to lose, man? What do we got to lose right now? Feed Jalen Waddle. I'm going to tell you this right now. I'd be giving 12 targets to Jalen. I'd be giving 6 to 8 targets to Achane. And I'd be giving another 14 to 18 run touches to Achane. I'd be trying to get 20 to 24 touches between the pass game and the run game for Achane, and I'd be trying to get 12 targets. That's 36 potential touches for your 2 most dynamic playmakers, when usually offensively you run about 60 to 65 plays a game on average. So that's half of your offense is going to those guys. I mean, what do we got to lose here? Make him the focal point. See what happens. Let the chains off. All right, my defensive keys. Linebackers in the secondary need to limit Kincaid's ability to do damage. All right? We've seen what's happened the last couple weeks with tight ends. It hasn't been pretty. Hasn't been pretty at all, in fact. Right? And it started off in week 1 with Tyler Warren when you had linebackers not getting wide enough. You had corners, messing up their assignments and getting burned. And then last week was the pinnacle. Last week was the absolute pinnacle of them not being able to cover tight ends. 3 of Baltimore's 4 passing touchdowns were to tight ends. 2 to Mark Andrews, 1 to Charlie Kolar. Oh, and by the way, Isaiah Likely had 3 receptions for 60 yards. So their 3 tight ends, Isaiah Likely, Charlie Kolar, and Mark Andrews, put up 105 yards on 7 receptions and 3 touchdowns. I mean, how far do you expect to go allowing stuff like that to happen? You just can't have that. Point blank, period. And Dalton Kincaid is one of the players that'll burn you. Do you remember the last time we faced Dalton Kincaid? Who remembers that game? Dalton Kincaid had 5 receptions. He had a touchdown, and he had 66 yards. He was their number 1 receiver. You have to limit what Kincaid does. Period. All right? And right now, when you look defensively, right now where we're at, man, the Miami Dolphins, they are having real problems defending 12 and 13 personnel. So they got to be better. They got to be better right now. That's just all there is to it. But yeah, they're having real problems defending 12 and 13 personnel right now. Teams are dicing them a little bit in 12 and 13. So you're going to have to find a way to be better than that. So, I mean, just terrible. Just terrible. So, gonna have to be better than that. All right? It's just that's all there is to it. Number two for me here. You got to win the turnover battle. I don't know how you're going to do that. We just went over the fact that we've given the ball away 15 times. They've only given the ball away 6 times. Good luck. I don't know how they're going to do that. I hope they can, but I doubt it. And then number 3, if you can hold Josh Allen's production down like in week 2 of 2024, you may have a shot. Now, the Buffalo Bills blew us out in that game. There ain't no doubt about that one. But Josh Allen was not the reason why they blew us out that game. Tua was awful in that game. He wasn't good last year. In what was that, week 2, I think? Yeah, it was week 2, right? Yeah, it was week 2. And, Josh Allen was only 13 of 19 for 1 touchdown, 139 yards. And he had 2 yards rushing. He accounted for 141 total yards and a touchdown. If you can hold him to that, you got a chance. If you can hold him to that, you've got a fighting chance. Then the problem becomes, do you let Cook absolutely cook you? So, my matchup to watch for this game, I've done McDaniel versus McDermott before, all this kind of stuff. But my matchup to watch is it's Tua versus the Bills defense. Are you got to show you got franchise quarterback ability this week for us to stand a chance. Tua Tagovailoa, I mean, you got to be, I know we had a shot. When we faced them the first time this year, right? Up until the end, it got away from us in the end. I know we had a shot, but, I mean, the fact of the matter is we need the Tua Tagovailoa that we saw last year. We need the Tua Tagovailoa that we saw in November against them when we lost 30-27. The Tua that went 25-28 for 231, 2 touchdowns. We need that Tua that put up one of the best EPA per plays ever against the McDermott defense. If we don't get that Tua, we don't stand a chance. Now, what's my prediction for this game? I just don't see this ending well. I just don't. I think I'm going to call 31-17 Bills. I think the Bills, they do a little bit better than their 30 point, than their 30 point. They're almost at 30 points a game. I think they do a little bit better than that. And I think we do a little bit less than the 20 points a game we're averaging right now. I just don't see a world where we win this game. I just don't. I just don't think that this team is good enough. I think mentally you're going to have guys that are already checked out. I truly believe that. You're going to have guys that are already checked out. And, you're probably going to get guys that are going to go into business for each other. But I just don't see anything good happening with this game on Sunday. I think this is going to be a tough one for us to get through, ladies and gentlemen. I love you all, and we'll get through it together, but it's going to be a tough one. It's going to be a tough one, and I think we're going to get worked. And what's scary is Josh Allen probably doesn't even need to throw 200 yards for us to get worked. He could throw for 150, and then James Cook puts up 150, and we're getting cooked. It is what it is. Listen, do I hope we win? 110%. I know I don't like to waste my Sundays. But you got to ask yourself, too, maybe it's just better if we get cooked. That's legit. Now, listen, I don't like seeing losing football, so I'll always take a win, but is it just better if we get cooked? So we can get one step closer to fixing all this? You got to ask yourself that. That's the stage we're at right now. And what's crazy is it's only week 10. It's only week 10, and I'm sitting here saying, I can't wait to start my off-season videos. Because you guys will be more interested. I mean, at least we'll have a top draft pick. We'll have change coming in some facets of this team. Hopefully all facets of this team, not just some. But it's crazy. The hope is lost right now. And the only chance to get hope back is really for this offseason to go our way. And, I know the intro says it's a beautiful day to be a Dolphin fan. It hasn't felt like it hasn't been a beautiful year and a half to be a Dolphin fan. It's been miserable. 2-6 last year. Tua comes back for those first 6 games, plays out of his mind, but we still only go 3-3. And that this is an issue. Then he gets hurt again now with the hip. Then Tyreek quits on the team, and it's just carried over into this year. Tyreek's gotten hurt. It's just, there might not be a team in pro sports that it's harder to be a fan of right now than the Miami Dolphins. And it sucks to say that. And, I wish my dad was an Eagles fan when he had me. But alas, he wasn't. He was a Dolphin fan, and I'm a Dolphin fan for the rest of my life. That's just the way it goes. We'll get through it together, though, people. Smash that like button, all right? Subscribe if you are new. I will be live on Sunday to live react to the game. I mean, even if they lose, hopefully we get an exciting game. A blowout. I've seen enough of these already. The Browns have blown us out. The Colts have blown us out. I just can't believe we've only beat the Buffalo Bills one time under Mike McDaniel. Smash the like button. Subscribe if you are new. I'll see you on the next one. Fins up all day, every day. Appreciate y'all. I'll see you on the next one.